Welcome back to my next lesson at mrstewartslessons.com. Right now what we have is a ship that can accelerate, a pi ship that can accelerate in whatever direction I'm pointing. Right? But the problem with it is now, if it hits the top or the bottom or any other side, it's going to keep trying to accelerate in that direction, but it won't be able to go any further. We wanted to make it do something when it hits the edge. There's a couple things we could do. We could either make it bounce or we could make it wrap around. I'm going to teach you how to do both. In this one, I'm going to teach you how to make the pi ship bounce when it hits the edge. So I'm going to open up the code window. First thing I want to do is I want to make a method that sees if I hit the edge. And I'm going to do something new here. I'm going to put in a comment that actually says what I want the method to do. This is a new thing. I'm going to hit a slash and a star. I'm going to hit the enter key, and I'll say a method that tells if I hit the edge and what edge I hit. So this is going to tell me if I hit the edge and what method I hit. So what I did is I hit a star and then I typed in what I want my method to do. The program won't read this. It will work perfectly fine if you don't do this part, but this will help anybody who looks at your code to see what it is that you actually did. So try that. Put in the comment like I just did. Okay, so now we're going to make a method, and it's going to tell me if I hit the edge. But not only if I hit the edge, it's going to tell me what edge I hit. So I'm going to start by typing public to make it a public method. But now I'm going to do something new. I'm going to type string. String means it's going to return a string variable. A string variable is a word or a phrase, a series of letters. Most of our methods so far have said void here, which means it hasn't returned anything at all. But a string allows me to return a word or words, possibly. And so now I'm going to type the name of the method. I'll call it hit the edge. We're not going to need an argument, so I'll just do an open and close parentheses. I'll do an open curly bracket, hit the enter key twice, and a close curly bracket. So I want you to do this here. Do public string hit the edge. Okay, so what I want to see is if I hit, let's start with just seeing if I hit the top. Okay, so if I hit the top, my y coordinate is going to be 0. I'm going to go over here. You see this guy's up on the top right now. I'll click inspect, and you'll see his y coordinate is 0, because 0 is up at the top here. So what I want to do is say, first I need to know what my y coordinate is. So I'm going to create an integer variable. I'm going to say, I'm going to call it y equals. Now I need to know what my y coordinate is. We've done this before. There's a method available called getY. So I'm going to call the getY method. And this is going to just tell me what my y coordinate is. So I want you to put in int y equals getY. Okay, so if you've done that, what I need to know is if my y coordinate is 0. So I'm going to put in an if statement. I'm going to say y equals 0. Don't forget your two equal signs, very important with the if statement, with a conditional equal sign. So I'm going to do an open curly bracket, hit the enter twice, and a close curly bracket. So I want you to put in if your y equals 0. Pause it and do that now. Okay, so what we want to do, if I hit the top, I want to tell the program that I've hit the top. And we tell it by returning. That's what this string here is what we're going to return. We're going to return a string that says top. So I'll just type return top, and that's going to return that string saying we've hit the top. Later on, we're going to return bottom, left, and right. Now, maybe we didn't hit the top. If we didn't hit the top, we still have to return something. So what I'm going to do is return null. So I'm going to say else, and then I'm going to return returning null is like literally just saying nothing at all. It's returning absolutely no information. So I want you to put in your else return null. So right now, all this does is this whole method here is just going to tell me if I've hit the top. Later on, we'll show you how to tell if we hit the bottom, left, or right. So now, what I want to do is I want to put in another method that's going to call the hit the edge method, and it's going to tell me, and it's going to bounce, go the opposite direction if I hit the edge. So I'm going to create a new method. From now on, when I create a new method, I'm always going to put in a string saying what that method's going to do. So I'm going to say a method that bounces at the edge. So put in that comment here, a method that bounces at the edge, and pause it and do that now. And now I'm going to start my new method. I'll type public, and then I'll have void. It's not going to return anything in this case. And then I'm going to do bounce at edge. Open and close parentheses, open curly brackets, enter 2 times and close curly brackets. So start your bounce at edge method the way I did. Okay, so right now we're just going to bounce if we hit the top, because that's all we're just trying to get the basics working here, right? So I want to know if I hit the edge or if I hit the top specifically, right? So what we want to do is we want to create a variable, and the variable is going to be equal to whatever edge I hit. So I'm going to create a string variable, right? And I'm going to call it edge equals, and then we're going to call the hit the edge method that we have just created, and put a semicolon to close it. So I'd like you to put string edge equals hit the edge the same way that I just did. So this edge is going to say one of two things. If I hit the top, it's going to be, this string will have a value of top. If I didn't hit the top, it'll have a value of null, which means I haven't hit the top yet, right? So if I have hit the top, I want to bounce, right? So I'm going to say if edge equals top. So I'd like you to put in that if statement here. If edge equals top. Don't forget we have to have double equal signs when we're putting in a conditional. Now, if we've hit the top, I want to start going, I was going up and I want to start going down. If I was going up, I must have had a negative speed. You can see this right in here. I was going up, I hit the top, my vertical speed was -10. We're going to want to change it to a +10 or a positive whatever speed it was. Basically, we're going the same speed, the opposite direction. So what we're really doing is reversing the sign. If it's negative, we want to make it positive. So a simple kind of little bit of math here. If I multiply a number by a -1, its sign's going to become opposite. So I'm going to say vertical speed equals, only a single equals here because this is an assignment operator, vertical speed times is a star when I'm in most programming languages, times -1. Okay, so I'd like you to put in that vertical speed equals vertical speed times -1. So this is almost ready to bounce off the top. All I have to do is call my method. I made a bounce at edge method that's going to do this. So I'm going to go up here. In my very first line of my act method, I'm going to include my bounce at edge and put in a semicolon. Okay, so now when I compile, I'm going to compile this. No syntax errors, that's good. And I'm going to close this. I'm going to put in my pie ship. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to point it at the top, and I'm going to accelerate up and watch what happens. Boing, I bounced. Now, right now, I'm only bouncing off the top. Let's try making it so I can bounce off the left side of the screen. Now, once we understand the idea, it gets a lot easier, right? So if I'm on the left side of the screen, my x coordinate will be at 0, right? If I'm all the way over here, you'll see my x coordinate will be at 0, right? I didn't move all the way over, but if I had moved all the way over, it would be 0. So when I get to x coordinate 0, I want to bounce this way, right? So that means first thing I need to do is I need to know what my x coordinate is. Try it on your own. See if you can figure out what your x coordinate is. Okay, so if you understood what we were doing so far, you probably put in this here, int x equals get x. That's going to tell me what my x coordinate is. And we're going to go in here, and I'm going to put in an else if before this else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, right after this, I'm going to hit an enter key right after return top. I'm going to do a close curly bracket. I'm going to type in an else if, right? So else if means that if something else is true besides the first thing, I'm going to say x equals 0. And then I'm going to do an open curly bracket here. Okay, so we're going to return that we hit the left key, left side of the screen. So, and so this should close this curly bracket, this should close this curly bracket. So I'd like you to add in an else if x equals 0, return left. Add that in right now. Okay, now I'm going to go down to my bounce at the edge, all right? And if I hit the left side of the screen, I want to bounce. I want to change my horizontal speed instead of my vertical speed. So I'm going to say else if here, and I'm going to say edge equals left. I'm going to do an open curly bracket and a closed curly bracket here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse the horizontal speed, right? If I hit the left side of the screen, my horizontal speed must have been going negative because I was going down. Now we want to hit, that means I want to go to the reverse it and make it positive, right? So if I hit the left side of the screen, my horizontal speed must have been negative, right? I want to reverse it and make it positive. Use the same method we did here. We're going to multiply it by -1. So I'll say horizontal speed equals horizontal speed times -1. So now we have, this is our horizontal speed. So now we'll be able to bounce off the left. And we don't need to change anything up here. We're already calling the bounce at edge method. So I'm going to compile this. Oh, you should add in your horizontal, this part, if else if edge equals left, horizontal speed equals horizontal speed times -1. Add that in now. Make sure you have this part here, or it won't work. Okay, so let's try it out. Let's see if I can make my ship bounce off the left. So I'll point my ship left. And it bounces off the left now. but it still does not work to bounce off the right or the bottom. That's a little bit trickier because I have to know how big my world is in order to make it bounce off the right or the bottom. So we're going to have to add something into our hit the edge method. We have to know how big our world is. Now I could just look it up. I could just look here and I could see that when I hit the edge that I'm at 599, that's my X, right? That would be one way to do it. But I might change the size of my world. What I'd really like to do is make it so it just checks and sees how big the world is every time. So what am I going to do? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the size of the world, and there's a couple steps to do that. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say world, get world, my world, equals, and then I'm going to use the method get world. So what the get world does, if I look here, is it returns the world that I live in. So all this allows me to look at the world that I'm in, right? In this case, the space world. So I'm going to put that in there. That's going to tell me what my world is. It's just going to actually, and this world here is actually the name of the world that I'm getting. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to see how big it is. So I'm going to create a variable which is going to be the right, I'm going to call it right side. It's going to be so that's going to be the far right side of my world. Int right side equals my world dot, and we want to know how wide it is. So if I get the width of my world here, I'm going to double click on it, and this is going to tell me how wide my world is. Now my ship actually can't get to 600. It'll stop at 599. You'll see if my ship's all the way over at the right, my X is going to be 599, not 600. So all I have to do to make sure that that works is I'm going to say the right side of my is the width of the world minus 1. And now I'm going to create another integer, which is the bottom side. And I'm going to get the height of the world. You might notice this is actually getting the not actor methods but world methods here, because my Greenfoot is smart enough to know by typing my world in a dot that I'm talking about the world. And we want the height minus 1, which will be, in this case, it's going to be 399. So I want you to put in your int right side equals my world dot get width, and int bottom side equals my world dot get height, and put minus 1 after each one. If you've done that, we're going to have to put in some more else statements here. So I'll go after my return left, and I'm going to hit my enter key, and I'm going to do a close curly bracket here, and I'm going to do an else if, an open curly bracket, I mean an open parentheses, sorry, and I'm going to say x equals right side. I'm going to do an open curly bracket here, and I will return right, because that means we're on the right side. So I want you to add that in, else if x equals right side, and return right. Now I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to add one more else statement after this. So I'm going to do a close curly bracket, else if y equals bottom side, and then close parentheses, open curly bracket, and we will return bottom. So add that in, else if y equals bottom side, return bottom. So now we're returning whatever side we've hit. And Now what we're going to do, I'm going to go down here to the bounce at edge, and this is actually going to be a fairly easy. We're going to go down to the bounce at edge, and this is going to be a fairly easy thing to do. We want to say if I'm at the top or at the bottom, I want to bounce vertically. So I'm going to put in a OR statement inside my conditional. This is a new one. An OR statement looks like this. I hold down the Shift key and I press the key right above the Enter 2 times. Those 2 vertical lines, that's an OR statement. And I'm going to say edge equals bottom. So this is saying if the edge is the top or if the edge is the bottom. We're going to reverse vertical. And since we're multiplying by -1, it's going to go the opposite direction, whichever way I was going. So add that in, or edge equals bottom. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit the OR statement. That's, once again, pressing the Shift key, pressing the key right above the Enter key 2 times. And I'm going to say edge equals right. And that's going to reverse the horizontal speed. Now I'm going to compile it. I'll close it. And now what we're going to see is a ship that can bounce off the right and the bottom. Come back next lesson and I'll show you a different way to do it, which is to make my ship wrap around to the other side.